This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Good news, team. We have an exciting new sponsor here at the Crypto Conversation, and well, they are perfectly positioned for today's changing investment environment. Because with market volatility so high and the expected returns for stocks and bonds so low, I tend to agree with the analysts at JP Morgan who have declared that alternative assets are no longer optional. And that is good news for those platforms who can provide access to the top alternative asset classes like Masterworks. Yes, Masterworks.io has solidified itself as the platform for investing in contemporary art. And Masterworks is on a mission to democratize art investing, which is a 1.7 trillion asset class. How do they do this? Well, Masterworks is the first platform to make it possible to purchase shares that represent an investment in multi-million dollar artworks from iconic artists such as Banksy, Kaws, and Basquiat, all at a price point tailored to you. And since 2017, Masterworks has sold a number of iconic artworks, with each returning over 30% net IRR to investors. Legally, I have to follow that with past performance is no guarantee of future results. Now, if you want to get in early, just go to masterworks.art/cryptoconversations to skip their waitlist. That's masterworks.art/cryptoconversations. And you can see important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.io/CD. And now it's on with the show. My guest today is Jose Lemus. Jose is CEO of IBEX, which is quite an intriguing, a new Bitcoin company, had some responsibility for helping to facilitate El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as a form of local currency. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about all of that. Before we do that, Jose, I think it would be good if you could please just introduce yourself. Love to hear a bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and I suppose your journey into the wonderful world of Bitcoin.
Hi, Andy. Thanks a lot, and thanks for having me. I'm, the CEO, as you mentioned, the CEO of IBEX. How I got started, really, I guess it goes back a long way. I first read the Satoshi white paper in 2012, and I fell in love with Bitcoin immediately because, when you read the white paper, and it basically speaks to two things that for me were key. One was the inability to print more of it, and two was the uncensorability of Bitcoin. And so, those two things really spoke to me just because of my life experiences, what we had gone through in Guatemala, and what I don't know if you know this, but I was actually on the wrong end of a bank bankruptcy, which not too many people, I imagine, have been. And we basically, the company lost all its money during that event. The company I had with a partner, it was a bicycle assembly company. And so, you start to see really how fragile things that you think are really, really solid are. And that throws into question a lot of stuff. And here was this new form of money that you could mathematically check for yourself. You didn't need anybody to, tell you how much there was, or, have access to it, or debase it, or any funny business, which is, I think, the biggest weaknesses that fiat currencies have. And so that's kind of like when I really started to get into the space.
Yeah, that makes sense, Jose. And I did not know that. So Um, what? When did this happen? This unfortunate incident with your bank and a bicycle assembly company, I think you said.
Yeah, yeah, we were importing bikes from China to Guatemala, and because Guatemala recognizes Taiwan, China doesn't have a good relationship with Guatemala. And in 2003, which is when this was happening, um, the only way to get money into China was to go through an offshore bank account. So there were Guatemalan banks that had uh, their offshore division, and so we had sent money to to the offshore bank account, and then it went under. What? But it was literally I sent the wire to the offshore to pay for the import. I sent it on a Thursday, and Saturday the bank had gone under, and it was a long weekend. So yeah,
Yeah.
we got back, and we had literally no cash.
Oh no. Yeah, that
Yeah,
must have been a terrible experience. Can certainly see how that would inform your early appreciation for Bitcoin. So where are
yeah.
you based today, then Jose, and where is IBEX
hmm
based out of or founded from?
So we originally incorporated in Guatemala. Right now we have offices in El Salvador and Miami as well. We're looking to expand into Mexico. That should be by the end of this quarter. So we should have offices in Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, and Miami as well.
Nice. And so, tell us then, what's the high level summary of IBEX? I think people will be starting to get an idea of what you guys do, but it'd be good if you could
Yeah.
just walk us
Well,
through it.
well, IBEX is interesting because it didn't really start like with like a traditional business. In the sense that when we started IBEX with my brother, and this was before we even incorporated the company, this was back in 2017. In 2017, after 5 years of following Bitcoin, I was finally able to purchase some. Again, being from Guatemala, we did not have ready access to Bitcoin. And so
Really, just
it took us,
explain that a bit more, Jose. That's fascinating. So you're saying you were basically watching Bitcoin since about 2012 when you read the white
yeah,
paper, but you weren't able to get any for another 5 years. But
yeah,
you still just kept following it, and I guess you
yeah,
would have had a goal to acquire some, right?
yeah, yeah. And yeah, the thing is that, again, being from Guatemala, it puts us or put me in a unique situation, right? Because at that point in 2012, well, first of all, I was dumb enough to not try to mine because you could still mine with like regular computers back then, right?
Yeah.
And I did not do that. And then I think I even went to a Bitcoin faucet once, and I thought like, nah, this is, you know, didn't inspire confidence, so I didn't even get any faucet Bitcoins.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but I did try to buy, and at that point, it was the only place available was empty Gox, right?
Yeah.
And and the thing is that it was based out of Japan, and so every wire I sent from Guatemala to Japan kept getting bounced back just because it was coming from Guatemala.
Right.
And so I could never buy. Then the next exchange that came online really was Coinbase, right? But they're a US based exchange,
Yeah.
and I didn't have a US passport, and so I couldn't open an account. Um, you know, and so that was basically my story. And in 2017, I was living in the Netherlands, and I finally managed to like open bank accounts or pay, have money routed through an account that wasn't flagged.
So in 2017, you're able to buy your first Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Bitcoin, of course, has appreciated quite significantly in price since 2012.
Yes.
And so pick up the story. So what happens then?
Oh.
So we're in 2017. You've finally been able to buy your first Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to ask you how much that Bitcoin was, but I guess you were like, it would have been partly relief and partly, oh man, I really missed out on getting in early.
Well, it was kind of weird because, the first purchase I did, I started with, not much, $1,000, right? And so I bought $1,000, and it promptly went down 50%. Next day, I was down 50% because volatility, was significant in those days. Yeah, and so we just I bought it. I lost 50%, and then started reading a lot more about it. And the funny thing was that the more I read about Bitcoin, and this was me and my brother as well, we were reading together and discussing it and talking about, its value proposition, its potential, all of this stuff. I just kept falling more and more in love with it. He as well. And we just started buying more and more. And it got to the point where, I just liked it too much. And I decided to move all of my savings into it, or close to all of my savings. I decided to keep, about around six or 7 months. I left in cash, and then everything else I moved into Bitcoin. And the funny thing was, when I was done, when I had ran out of cash to buy Bitcoin, I called my brother up again and said, listen, I think this is something that's too important to not get involved, to not add our grain of sand. And so in whatever measure, I want us to help Bitcoin's chances of success. And he was on board with the idea. And that's really where IBEX started, because we're just trying to help Bitcoin's chances of success. We think it's too important a technology to not be successful.
I love it, Jose. So, all right, well tell us then what is the mission for IBEX? So you've explained that it is to help Bitcoin succeed. So specifically, what is your niche in the market? What are you guys trying to facilitate?
So I'll answer that two-part question. So the first question, what's our mission? And I think why we think Bitcoin is so important is because we see in Bitcoin a chance to end financial oppression. And so what we want to do, and we're in the business of ending financial oppression. And that's our mission at IBEX. And so how this, what this does is that at first, when we started IBEX, the thing after shooting a bunch of ideas around with my brother, after, we got together and what would be cool, what could we do, brainstormed a lot. And one day, we just sat down and said, well, every idea that we floated is good. It's not necessarily bad, but if people don't have easy, reliable access to the technology, then everything else doesn't matter. So we actually started as an OTC desk in Guatemala because we wanted to bring a safe, secure way for people to acquire Bitcoin in Central America, to get access to this technology in a safe and secure manner, and fast, easy. Also a way to get out of it if they needed to, right? Because something's only easy to get in if you can also get out of. And so we did that, and then we started coming along, and by the time the news from El Salvador happened, we were really an OTC market. We had done a couple of stuff with Lightning Technology, but we weren't really a Lightning Technology company. But when the news happened, we immediately realized that the challenges it presented to the businesses, right? Because as sophisticated as retail solutions for Bitcoin, in terms of wallet and technology that's available for the individual to use, there's really nothing for businesses to adopt Bitcoin, or at least in 2021, mid 2021, that was the case, right? Every single, company solution or enterprise level solution was pretty much DIY. The only ones that had them were Bitcoin companies like ours that, had to do it because that was their business, and there really were no tools. And so, because we saw a big issue there that Bitcoin could really fail in a big way unless we managed to get businesses the solutions they needed to interact with this technology. And that's where, we pivoted into this Lightning infrastructure company.
Got it. And so, yeah, looking through your website, it looks like you're going to kind of have three parts of the company, right? You've got the IBEX digital wealth management, and that's focused wealth management for ultra high net worths and institutions. Then IBEX Hub, which is what you're talking about. So that's adding the Lightning network to existing payment networks for businesses. And then the third one is IBEX Pay. Well, that again, and that's just that's Lightning, simple Bitcoin payments via Lightning. And you're focused essentially on what, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Mexico, right?
Right now, we started off with the technology in El Salvador. Right now, actually, our two biggest markets are El Salvador and Miami with the payments solution. Guatemala is bigger on the digital wealth, and it's starting to pick up with the payments as well. And then on the institutional side, it's more right now global. Everything from wallets that we've been talking to that want to adopt Lightning technology, to exchanges, and even banks in the case of El Salvador, that use our Lightning infrastructure. So,
well, I'd love to talk a little bit about El Salvador then, Jose, because obviously, when El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, was it last year or the year before? I think last year. And, last year, been a lot of media coverage ever since. Obviously, a lot of bullishness and celebration from the Bitcoin community, and as you can appreciate, a lot of skepticism from everyone else, including the mainstream media. And I think there's a little bit of confusion about what's happening at the moment because the Volcano Bond has been delayed. The president of El Salvador decided not to go to the recent Bitcoin conference because he wants to try and focus on this gang problem in the country. So obviously it's not a simple thing to be the first nation state to essentially adopt a Bitcoin as a financial system, and there's always going to be hiccups along the way. So understand that. If that is just the very super quick context, love to get your thoughts. You can approach this however you want and weave in how you guys are involved. I'm sure Samson Mao and Paleo from Bitfinex and all those characters that are involved. So talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, it's a very complex subject, right? Like everything, it's kind of a mixed bag in regards to everything. one thing we have to understand is that in and and I think I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but I facts are facts. I think when the president of El Salvador made the announcement, really the tech wasn't ready, you know, and it's still only kind of half baked in terms of accepting Bitcoin payments. Lightning was still coming along. I think when the announcement was made, we had like a 70% success rate on transactions, which honestly for any payment system is quite low. You can't run a country on 70% success rate, right? That's one of the things that at IBEX we really focus on is how do we get that to 85 to 90 to 95 to 99%, where we really have to be at for it to make sense, right? To adopt this technology. So it was a couple of things that got married there. I don't think that that it was like super well thought out. I think El Salvador was basically between a rock and a hard place financially. They thought of Bitcoin as an easy way out, which it never is. Bitcoin has never been easy for
Right.
for
Yep.
anybody,
Totally.
and so there's gonna have to be a lot of work put in to make this successful, and that's where we are right now. We're in the process of, thankfully we get this opportunity, we get this place where we can go all out and really commit to Bitcoin as a currency, but it's going to take time. It's not overnight.
Yeah, that's that is for sure. So, I mean, what do you think? Dig into this a bit more, Jose. What's I'd love to hear about what you think the perspectives are from people that actually live there, like the general population. What are their thoughts? What are their concerns? What are their dreams? And yeah, I mean, how does you said the technology isn't ready? What's the sort of the timeline on maybe not necessarily the technology maturing, but people getting comfortable and the education happening, and yeah, the infrastructure slowly being built out, and I guess the Volcano Bond, is the Volcano Bond still coming? Where are we at?
Honestly, on the Volcano Bond side, I I can't be 100%. I'm not directly involved in it. You know, we do know Samson, and we're aware of what he's trying to accomplish there, and we know that he has had meetings with, the top executives at the government. That being said, we expect it to still be issued. Um, Everybody is expecting it to still happen. I don't see why it wouldn't happen. It, it just makes too much sense to issue it. Um, so so I think it's just going to take time. There's whenever you put out a financial instrument like that, especially if it's so new, it takes time to put together, and it takes time to get every party on board. For me, it's just a question of time on whether it happens or not. um that's on that side. On the, is the technology mature enough now or not? um I would say it's grown super fast. If you compare the solutions and what was available in when the announcement in on the Lightning Network specifically, uh, from when the announcement was made to now, you know, the technology has moved super quickly, super quickly. It's a lot more robust. It's a lot more sophisticated. You know, payments rarely fail if both parties know what they're doing. That's a big caveat here. Both parties have to know what they're doing. Uh, so people are getting a lot better at maintaining their nodes, maintaining their channels, ensuring liquidity is, properly allocated. So that's all positive. But that's only part of the equation, right? The other part of the equation is how do we, what are the tools that we need to deliver to, corporate clients to get them comfortable? And that's also matured a lot. A lot of what we do, because our background is in OTC, is help corporations just by allowing them to accept Bitcoin payments, but then doing instant convertibility at the time of sale. So it becomes just another payment channel. They don't have to think of it as I'm accepting Bitcoin. They're just, well, I'm getting paid via a different platform. I have Visa, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and now I have Lightning as well.
Yeah, got it. And well, I do understand that it does take time for all of this to embed. And what about since the announcement by El Salvador last year, Jose, and obviously so much excitement, and then of course predictably, everyone is like, well, who will be the next domino to fall? Which countries are next in line? And there's a few countries that people talk about again and again, and I guess with El Salvador's experience not perhaps going 100% smoothly, even if that is to be expected. It does take longer, but I think when we look back on this moment, it will all happen so much faster than anyone could think. But when we're in the thick of it, sometimes it's just easy to get caught up in the volatility either way. One week you're really bullish, and one week you're bearish. That is crypto in a nutshell. We all know that. But with that in mind, Jose, again, from whatever angle you want to approach it, but just love to hear your thoughts on how you see this kind of nation state adoption playing out, if indeed you think it will.
Yeah, I think let's say the low-hanging fruits are all the countries that don't issue their own currency, right? So places like Panama, those are going to be really easy to move over or to adopt Bitcoin alongside whatever other currency they also use, because they have no barrier, right? They don't care either way because they're not printing money. Yep. So those are very easy jurisdictions to get onto Bitcoin, and you already see it. So Panama right now has the law approved by Congress. It's pending presidential approval, from what I understand. If that happens or not, still to be seen, but it seems like there's a very high probability that Panama's doing that next. And there was a country in Africa as well, I believe, or no, it was in the West Indies that did it. So yeah, any country that doesn't have their own currency is going to be low-hanging fruit. They're going to be highly incentivized to do so. Also, countries that for some reason or another don't have a big attachment to their currency, or even their currency has had issues, and enough issues that competing, and I'm going to put this in quotes, currencies have come along, such as the case of some African countries with, cell phone airtime, like M-Pesa, right? They don't have a super strong or ability to print money anymore, and they are incentivized to also adopt Bitcoin. So I think those are the, let's call them low-hanging fruits. Aside from that, we also see in some jurisdictions where, where there's a lot more, you know, strong. There's a stronger, let's call it industrial base or industry. If there's countries where, let's say, 4 or 5 families or groups really control the country. If at one of these countries you get a really strong proponent of Bitcoin, that could also accelerate adoption in one of those jurisdictions.
Yeah, makes sense, Jose. And what do you think is the attitude of just people on the ground, people who live in places, countries like El Salvador, Guatemala, even Panama? How do they feel about Bitcoin? I mean, I'm sure it's like some people are excited and some people are dismissive, but what do you see?
Well, first of all, there's the initial reaction is one of rejection, I would say, but that's natural. That happens with any new technology. That's kind of like when the internet was coming around, like, what is this thing? Why do I need it? I don't care about it. It's that type of situation, right? And so, but as people start to interact with it, it gets demystified. They start to use it. They start to see benefits. Then it gets adopted. We are sponsoring. I don't know if you know this, but we are sponsors of My First Bitcoin, Mi Primer Bitcoin in El Salvador. We help put together an educational course for young people to learn about money, to learn about Bitcoin, to learn why it's important, to learn how to use it, and all of that stuff. And it's starting to get a lot of traction, honestly. So, as any new currency, and I know this is really weird to talk to a lot of people, because it's not like, it doesn't happen a lot that a country switches currencies, right? But it's not an overnight process. Even when El Salvador switched from their original currency, which was el colón, to the dollar, it didn't happen overnight. It took a couple of years. It took a couple of years to get people off colones and into dollars. It wasn't overnight. And that's,
Right.
I think, what we have to understand is that this is a process. It's not a, instant solution.
Yeah, makes sense, Jose. All right, well, let's finish off this part of the podcast and then we'll come back and run you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Just before we go to the break, just final thoughts, anything you want to share on terms of IBEX, tell people where they can go to learn more about the products and services you're offering, and anything else you're kind of excited by, anything you have in the product pipeline that you're working on and can talk about.
Absolutely. So I'll reverse the order. I'll go with what I'm excited about. This isn't necessarily a product, but it's just where I think, that really gets me excited. So, Bitcoin has really proven itself on the layer one as a superior store of value. I think nobody's, questioning that or that much. Anybody that's serious, anybody that's done their homework, recognizes Bitcoin as a superior store of value to anything else out there. And in the layer two, now we have a superior, what would you call it, payments rails technology. And it's superior to anything else out there. And so what's really cool about this is that, and we don't think about it this way, but we really live in certain paradigms all the time. And the thing with paradigms is we do not know we're stuck in it. And the one we're stuck in it right now on the commercial side is that all the commerce that happens in the world is limited by our payments technology, right? This means, to give you an example, if all transactions, if all commercial transactions had to be done by cash face to face, how does commerce look in that world? It looks way different than the one we live in right now, right? Like really different. And now we have this payments technology that allows us to do a lot, but it still has limits. And with Lightning, what we're really doing, and with the layer 2 solution, what we're really doing is we're breaking through those limits. So we're enabling micro payments. More than that, we're enabling cross-border, cross-currency micro payments. And this is something that cannot be done on any other technology out there right now. And so what this does is that this breaks the mold. This isn't about paying for another cup of coffee, a different way. This is about all of the commerce that so far is not currently being done that now is potentialized, that now is going to be able to get executed. And that's what's really exciting to me.
Nice. I love it. Very nicely said, Jose. And all right, we'll shout out IBEX and tell people where to go to learn more about IBEX.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter. We're at IBEX Mercado, also at IBEX Pay. We also have the website, ibexmercado.com. And I think those are the 3 main places to go to.
Awesome. All right, let's go to a very quick break. We'll be back in 1 second.
Here's what's being said about Masterworks.
My name is Jacob N. I'm from Long Island, and I've invested over $73,000 with Masterworks. My portfolio performance just wasn't cutting it. I researched all these alternative investments, like crypto and NFTs, but they didn't make sense to me. Then I read about Masterworks in Forbes, and I signed up right away. And now you can too. Thanks, Masterworks.
Get VIP access at masterworks.io and use promo code JACOB. See important disclosures at masterworks.io/DC.
All right, we are back, and I'm with Jose Lemus. Jose is the CEO at IBEX, which is facilitating and helping build all sorts of Bitcoin payments and Lightning infrastructure in various places around the world. And Jose, it's been fascinating chatting to you today. I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Absolutely.
All right. Just going to pose some questions to you, Jose. Just want kind of hot take style, quick, snappy answers, but there's no right or wrong way to do this. Be interested to see what you say here with question 1, which is, where would you say you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I would say I'm 90% maximalist.
Nice. What would you say is your firmest conviction, a Bitcoin opinion, Jose?
My firmest conviction is that Bitcoin has already won.
I love it. Nice. Jose, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10, right? So as anyone who's been in crypto or Bitcoin as long as you have, you can appreciate that 2 years is actually a short time, but 10 years, man, the world can change. With that in mind, whatever you like, but Bitcoin adoption, what does it look like in 10 years' time?
I think in 10 years' time, that's the form of payment. One way or another, every payment happening touches Bitcoin in some way.
Nice. William Gibson, Jose, said that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't really aware of it?
Yeah. Well, it's what we do every day, right? When I mentioned cross-border, cross-currency payments, micropayments, that's something that we're doing today at IBEX, but you don't hear about it, right? And when I say micropayments, it's about sending 5 cents from Mexico to Europe, and we can do that, and we can settle in whatever currency you need to settle in. And yeah, that's just not known out there.
Totally. Time to zoom out. Jose, what do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Time to get philosophical. Do you see utopia or dystopia?
I don't see either. There's always going to be challenges, and it's part of the human condition to be unsatisfied. What I do see is that, for me, it's about quality of life, and I do see quality of life improving over the long term.
Yep, very nice, very nicely said. And yeah, bang on, that's such a good way of saying it. Part of the human condition is to be unsatisfied, or take it one step further, life is suffering. It's just the way we're built, unfortunately. That is the paradox of consciousness. Finally, Jose, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Right now, I have to say Altered Carbon.
Yeah, nice. This has been awesome, Jose. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. Time to close this out. Close it out any way you want to. Shout out your Twitter again, the websites, and just any closing thoughts from you.
Yeah, if you're anybody that's interested in lightning, start to play around with it. It's going to be more important than you think.
Yeah, nice. All right. Thank you, Jose. All the best, and bye for now.
Bye, Andy, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, there you go. That was Jose from IBEX, all about Bitcoin. Yeah, that was a good chat. Quite a fascinating one. The funny thing about this podcast is, because I don't know how many podcasts I record a week. At least 3, sometimes a lot more if it's a really busy week, and it's just having one of those mornings. It's just been a busy week, but so I woke up this morning. I was helping my boy get ready for school. I was halfway through my first cup of coffee and just opened up my laptop, and a calendar notification popped up and said, "You got a podcast in 8 minutes with Jose." And I was like, oh, here we go. So I was very much unprepared for today's conversation. I just wasn't anticipating it at all, which is rare for me. I'm usually very prepared, do quite a bit of research on who I'm talking to, but for whatever reason, I was just doing other things yesterday and didn't look at my calendar properly. So woke up and it was an 8 a.m. podcast for me. So I literally had 5 minutes to prepare for this one. But as it turned out, it was fine. Still a really good conversation, I thought. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Sometimes that's how it goes. It's the ones that kind of sprung on you are the ones you do really enjoy, and I felt that was very much the case for Jose. So thank you, Jose, if you're still listening at the end. Thank you also, listeners, if you're still listening at the end. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But for today, that was today's show. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.